Most of them were hunted, betrayed, and wiped out in an instant. But what happened to the ones who remained? Order 66 wasn't just the fall of the Jedi. It was a massacre. The clones turned on their commanders. Jedi fell by the thousands, and the few who survived had to disappear or be next. But some refused to go down without a fight. Who escaped the Empire's grasp? And how did Yoda, the greatest Jedi of all of them, end up on a distant, lifeless swamp by the end of it all? Let's look at some of the most dominant Jedi who survived Order 66. Obi-Wan Kenobi. This Jedi legend was on Utapau when Order 66 went down, fresh off his victory against General Grievous. But just as he thought the war was nearly over, boom, betrayal. Commander Cody, the guy who had been fighting beside him for years, turned on him in an instant. Obi-Wan barely escaped. But his real heartbreak? That came later. When he found out Anakin had turned to the dark side, he had no choice but to face him on Mustafar. And we all know how that ended. The heat, the lava, the intensity, one of the most brutal duels in Star Wars history. Obi-Wan won, but at what cost? He had to walk away, leaving Anakin behind. And then, he went into hiding on Tatooine, watching over Anakin's son, Luke. Can you imagine living with that guilt for years? Knowing you fought your best friend and left him for dead. That's some heavy stuff. But how bad could this have been for someone who already left the Jedi behind? Ahsoka Tano. Ahsoka was in a unique position during Order 66. She wasn't technically a Jedi anymore. She had already walked away from the Order. But that didn't mean she was safe. During the Siege of Mandalore, she captured Darth Maul. But before she could even process that victory, the clones turned on her. So what did she do? She adapted. With the help of Captain Rex, who she managed to save by removing his inhibitor chip, she faked her own death. Imagine that. One of the most skilled Jedi of her time, forced to disappear. But she wasn't done. Years later, she resurfaced as Fulcrum, a key figure in the Rebel Alliance. So here's the question. If she had stayed in the Jedi Order, would she have survived? Or was leaving the best decision she ever made? Ahsoka's case is quite dramatic. But could anything really prepare you for the case of a kid caught up in the Order 66 mess? Cal Kestis. Cal Kestis was just a kid when Order 66 happened. He was a Padawan, and he saw his master Jaro Tapal fall right in front of him. With nowhere to go, he hid. Years later, working as a scrapper on Braca, he made the mistake of using the Force to save a friend. That single moment put a target on his back, and suddenly, the Empire was hunting him. His journey led him to a choice: rebuild the Jedi Order or protect those who could carry the Force into the future. He chose the latter, destroying a holocron that contained a list of Force-sensitive children. Think about that. He had the chance to bring back the Jedi, but he knew it was safer for those kids to remain hidden. Was that the right call? Or did he just delay the return of the Jedi even further? Moving on to the next case, you'll realize how even the ones happy in the Order did not get by unharmed. Caleb Dume. Caleb was just a Padawan, training under Jedi Master Depa Billaba. He had skill, potential, and a future in the Order. But all of that shattered in a heartbeat. One moment, he and his master were fighting alongside clone troopers on Collar. But what happened next? The clones turned on them. Order 66 had begun. Billaba sacrificed herself to save him, ordering Caleb to run. Can you imagine that? Watching the person who trained you fall right in front of you.
You must run!
With no time to grieve, no time to think, just run or die. Caleb had to disappear. The Jedi were being hunted, and staying a Jedi meant certain death, so he did the only thing he could. He became someone else. He took the name Kanan Jarrus, ditched his lightsaber, and kept his Force abilities hidden. But how do you survive when you've lost your entire identity? Kanan had no choice but to take any job he could. Smuggling, mercenary work, anything to stay under the Empire's radar. But was running enough? Or was he always meant to return to the fight? Years later, Kanan met Hera Syndulla, a fierce pilot with a deep hatred for the Empire. She saw something in him, something he had tried to forget. Together, they formed the Ghost Crew, a small but determined group of rebels fighting back. But was Kanan really ready to lead? He had spent so long hiding his Jedi past. Could he step up and embrace it again? Then came Ezra Bridger, a street-smart orphan from Lothal with a natural connection to the Force. Despite his doubts, Kanan took Ezra as his Padawan, and just like that, he was a Jedi again. Kanan and the Ghost Crew were constantly hunted by Inquisitors, but Kanan refused to back down. But could he protect those he cared about? Or was the past doomed to repeat itself? Time eventually revealed the truth. But the next case will leave you baffled about the greatest mystery in this entire universe. Grogu. Grogu, or as most people call him, Baby Yoda, was just a youngling when Order 66 happened. Somehow, someone got him out before the temple fell. But who and how? That's still a mystery. Decades later, he was found by the Mandalorian Din Djarin, and suddenly he became the most wanted being in the galaxy. The Empire wanted him, the Jedi were looking for him, and all the while, he was just surviving. What does his future hold? Will he fully embrace his Jedi training, or will he follow a different path altogether? One thing's for sure, these survivors all had different fates, but they share one thing in common. They lived through a moment that wiped out almost everyone they knew. And that kind of survival always comes with a cost. But nobody's survival story is as crazy as the one that's about to come up next. Yoda. Yoda wasn't just some wise old mentor sitting in the Jedi Temple, dishing out advice. He was on the front lines, leading battles and fighting alongside Jedi generals and clone commanders. His deep connection to the Force made him an unstoppable warrior, and for a while, it seemed like the Jedi were winning. But then, things took a dark turn. In the final stretch of the Clone Wars, Yoda found himself on Kashyyyk, standing with the Wookiees against the Separatist army. Why was he there? Because he had strong ties with the Wookiees, and he knew how important their homeworld was in the bigger picture. He fought alongside warriors like Tarful and Chewbacca, proving that even after centuries, he could still hold his own in battle. But then came the moment everything changed. One second, Yoda was fighting side by side with the clones. The next, they were turning their blasters on him. Palpatine had activated Order 66, branding every Jedi a traitor in the Republic. It was a trap so perfectly executed that even the wisest Jedi didn't see it coming. Well, except for Yoda. Just before Commander Gree could strike, Yoda sensed the betrayal. Without hesitation, he took out Gree and another trooper before they can even react. But what now? The entire galaxy had just turned against the Jedi. There was no going back. Yoda knew he couldn't stay. He had to disappear. Fast. And who helped him? None other than Chewbacca and Tarful.
Goodbye, Tarful. Goodbye, Chewbacca. Miss you, I will.
They guided him through the dense forest, leading him to an escape pod. It was a heartbreaking moment. Yoda had spent centuries fighting for the Republic, and now he was running for his life. But where would he go? And more importantly, what could he even do now? Yoda wasn't about to fade into the shadows just yet. He made his way back to Coruscant, where he saw firsthand the massacre at the Jedi Temple. That's also when he learned that Anakin Skywalker, his former ally, had fallen to the dark side and become Darth Vader. With Obi-Wan heading off to deal with Anakin, Yoda set his sights on the real mastermind, Emperor Palpatine. Their duel in the Senator Chamber was nothing short of legendary. It was raw power versus ancient wisdom, dark side against light. But in the end, Yoda lost. Not because he wasn't strong enough, but because he realized something chilling. The Sith had already won. The Republic was gone. The Jedi were nearly extinct. And staying to fight, that would accomplish nothing. So he made the hardest decision of his life. He left. But why Dagobah? Of all the places in the galaxy, why choose a swamp world crawling with strange creatures? The answer lies in the Force. Dagobah was rich with life, making it the perfect hiding place. But more importantly, it had a cave filled with darkside energy. That cave acted like a shield, masking Yoda's presence so the Sith couldn't sense him. In exile, Yoda lived simply. He built a small hut, relied on the land for food, and spent years meditating. But he wasn't just wasting time. He was learning. He connected with the spirit of Qui-Gon Jinn, who taught him secrets about the Force, including how to achieve immortality. But even after all that, did Yoda truly believe the Jedi could return? Or was he just waiting for the inevitable? That's it for today's video. Now who do you think had it the hardest after surviving Order 66? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more.